I'm opening a Discord server. The first reason for it is the fact that YouTube keeps hiding my comments under my own videos despite my comment filter being turned off. So if I didn't heart your comment, it means that I didn't see it, by the way. The second reason is that I keep hearing from you about how hostile other The Coffin of Andy and Lele oriented online spaces can be in comparison to my own. I've been considering this for a while, but I didn't feel confident enough in being able to moderate something like that. I was waiting for someone more competent to do it, but I kept getting these comments showing me that things are still bad out there, so I think I have to take things into my own hands. While I'm not extraordinary in any way, I do pride myself in being able to get along with pretty much anyone and keep things civil and polite. I wish to never lose this ability. And this game needs a good, polite fandom to thrive. There's no more time to wait. Besides, we're losing numbers, and therefore the likelihood of success of our mission lessens each day. I'm not gonna get too much into it, not to bore you with personal details here, but I'm at risk of losing my house. So the free time I can spare for making videos might get limited eventually, if I don't manage to turn this into a career. And even then, do I even want to? It would stop feeling genuine and would become stressful instead. But I digress. What I was getting at before I got sidetracked is that this is my Hail Mary.
You're being given final option. Consider this your one last chance to make it back home and abandon caution.
Our mission to get this smiling plank of wood into the coffin of Andy and Lele continues. It's no longer just a joke. Our odyssey has a purpose. It is a symbol of our community. And so we have to continue being a community that the author and the team won't be ashamed of, even after we achieve success in our mission. In practice, what that means is that we'll be respectful, civil, we won't fetishize the characters, but we won't moralize to people about what kinds of fiction they can or cannot enjoy either. We will enjoy the game's themes without glamorizing them in real life, basically. Currently, from my understanding, the fandom is fractured into groups. The Perverts, who heavily sexualize the game's characters and its themes, making the taboo aspect of their relationship their main vocal point. While I'm intimidated, and slightly weirded out, by that crowd, what they're doing isn't wrong on its own, besides twisting these characters to fit their fantasies, with no care for the character's integrity and authenticity. For example, what I am concerned with are the people advocating for them to inbreed. I worry that these people are fetishizing these characters without caring about keeping their personalities intact. From my interpretation, both Andrew and Ashley are too self-centered to ever want children, with the exception of Andrew doing it to secure his relationship with Julia, if he had the chance to. I don't hate you, but I'm afraid that what you're pushing for aren't Andrew and Ashley anymore, but empty avatars of your desires devoid of their original personalities and meaning. You're still welcome on the server if you refrain from sexualizing or fetishizing them on the server itself, of course. I'm not going to tell you what you can or cannot do outside of it, I'm not a dictator. Another group is a subset of the Perverts, the Habsburgs, the most extreme of them, who are trying to justify incest in real life, and that's when it becomes wrong and harmful. Listen, while I disagree with you, I do agree that we should be able to discuss even controversial things like that. I don't believe in total censorship of ideas, but can we please discuss it in an appropriate place outside of this fandom, to be considerate of other fans and the game's brand? Because regardless of your stance on it, it is very controversial, and I don't want to have it discussed on my server. The moral police, who, like the Perverts, are also making the taboo aspect of their relationship their main vocal point, but in the opposite context. If I understood them correctly, their main problem is that this fictional story about abusive, sociopathic, murderous, cannibalistic siblings made incest look appealing in real life. Unfortunately, I can't call their mindset completely illogical because of the aforementioned previous group. But they need to acknowledge that any well-adjusted individual doesn't need a constant reaffirmation of their real-life morality. And if someone does need that, well, then I don't think that they should interact with this kind of fiction to begin with. It's not the game's responsibility to censor itself. Remember when comic books had to adhere to the comics code? Of course you don't, because no one wants to remember that, because it sucked. Even if we do assume that all media should adhere to our morals for the sake of the argument, like we're some kind of ancient Romans trying to adapt the Odyssey so that Ulysses in fact represents the ideal of virtus, despite hiding in the Trojan horse, I fail to see how this fictional story about abusive homicidal cannibals who sacrifice people to soul-eating demons glamorizes real-life incest. The perverts were already into that kind of stuff when they swarmed to the game. It didn't create them. The line between reality and fiction is clear and not blurry at all to anyone sane, including most of them. The Moralists, who are the subset of the moral police, who tried playing the game for themselves, and it turned out that they actually like it. But they're hell-bent on the idea that the game is trying to teach you morals, by showing you how bad these characters are. Lots of the humor of the game is unfortunately lost on them, as they see the story purely as a disturbing, twisted psychological horror. They're good at analyzing the characters though. I actually like them, as long as they're respectful. Sussy Bakas, who pretend to hate this game or to enjoy it, ironically. Just admit that you enjoy it. You watched like 3 full playthroughs of it on YouTube. That's not something that a person who hates the game does. I'm sorry, but you're not hate watching it. You're just invested in the story like the rest of us. You think that admitting it will make you one of the perverts, but it won't. There are more groups, like, for example, chill guys. Girls, mostly girls actually. The normal people, who enjoy the story and the characters while finding their actions disgusting, disturbing, twisted, immoral, but sometimes funny. They like the story. They peep the horror.
Oh yeah. No. The thing in the fridge is definitely not human meat.
Laugh at the jokes, don't want siblings to fuck, okay? They're the best of us. What more can I say? They're normal. God bless them. And then, there's the 7th group that I represent. The Love Goblins, who see the game as a dark romance and wish to see Andrew and Ashley in a happy romantic relationship, being kind to one another, while continuing to be awful to anyone else. A modern archetype of Bonnie and Clyde, if you will. We don't sexualize these characters, because why would we? We want Andrew to be with Ashley, not us. Because we would never steal his sister. We don't think that it's a good thing, but since it's fiction, the immorality of it doesn't bother us. Basically, we like when they kiss, but don't look at the fanart where they fuck, okay? Actually, I just avoid the fanart in general, but that's just me. Like, the last time I engaged in looking at fanart was back in 2013, looking at Fallout 3 fanart made by Galoo Game Lady. At least I think so, since the whole gallery is gone. It was good stuff though. I'm a Fallout fan and I really like Fallout 3. That's probably the most controversial thing I said in this whole video. In my opinion, the most accurate way to describe this game would be to call it an adventure game / visual novel with elements of dark romance, psychological horror, dark comedy, and drama. One devoid of trying to teach us moral lessons that we already know, separated from real life as all fiction should be. To ignore any of these parts is to have misunderstood the game as a whole, in my opinion. What it isn't is the incest game. From the way I interpret the characters, I feel like the author's original vision includes a good enough ending where Andrew and Ashley are in a romantic relationship, and the narration will reflect on how messed up and pathetic it is. They'll probably keep being awful and killing people, but will grow more kind towards each other. Subjectively good ending for them, objectively bad for the rest of the world kind of thing. A happier version of Shots and Such, without domestic violence and demonic enslavement. I want that. But if I'm mistaken, and that's not the author's original intention for the story, then I wouldn't want it to be included either, to be honest. I hope that the author never gets influenced by any outside forces, one way or the other. Giving everyone what they want in the story means that these characters will stop being themselves. They won't feel authentic anymore. The most important thing to me is the integrity of the author's vision, to keep the game's artistic value intact. If the author ever finds this video, I want to apologize for not defending you and your game sooner, during the height of the controversy and the doxing. I was taking care of my sick father back then, and I was afraid of the consequences it would have had on him if I got doxed and potentially harassed in real life, as unlikely as that was. Your game got me through the worst time in my entire life so far, and for that I thank you. My first video on the game was released shortly after my father passed away. That being said, there's no excuse for cowardice and not standing up for what I believe in. So again, I'm sorry. I promise to build you a good fandom for your game instead, as an apology. For now, all the rules are set. They're subject to change, but I'll always try to be lenient with everyone who's not being inappropriate towards others or trying to scam or send malware to people, because again, that's instant ban. In any other instance, I view banning as a last resort, because I like to think that most people are reasonable when approached individually, and I detest silencing people's voices. So I want you to understand that everyone is welcome as long as they adhere to the rules and remain polite, as I believe that polite discussions with people you disagree with are extremely important to prevent us from living in an echo chamber. I of course also want others to be polite to them in return, but do report it to me if they break our rules, because hospitality doesn't equal inaction in the face of harassment. Though do keep in mind that ignorance doesn't equal malice either, and so it's important to give others the benefit of the doubt, again, as long as they aren't being inappropriately suggestive to others. We all need to be vigilant of that, especially until I find enough people willing to moderate the server when I'm away. If that's something that would interest you, then please message me on the server, and we're gonna have a series of calls in which I'll determine if we share the same values when it comes to moderating the server. Currently the server is not 18+, because I don't allow any pornographic material on it. My main reason is that there are fans of the Coffin of Wendy and Lele out there who are 15, 16, 17 and who still need a fandom. And I'd rather have them here, where I don't allow any 18+ content, than somewhere else, because they will go somewhere else if we don't create a space for them. It's the safest place for them as far as I know, since inappropriately suggestive and creepy behavior towards anyone, but especially children, is one of the only things that I have zero tolerance for. If it won't work out and I'll feel like I won't be able to keep them from harm's way, I will change the server to 18+. And that's pretty much it. So for now, spread the word, and as always, take care.
Just